Some terrible breaking news. The Supreme Court case, Bondi versus Vanderstock, was decided today. This is the ghost gun rule, frames and receivers that we've been waiting on, and it went just about as many of us thought it was going to go. The Supreme Court just dropped a bombshell 7-2 ruling, and if you're a builder of your own firearms at home, this decision directly impacts you. The ATF's overreach just got the green light, but not in the way you might think. If you're keeping score at home, every justice except Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito just sided with the ATF to uphold their frame and receiver rule. Before we dive into this massive case, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you don't miss a single beat when it comes to our rights, our gear, and our freedom. And stick around because you're going to want to hear what the Supreme Court had to say about this. All right, let's rewind. The Gun Control Act of 1968 says that firearms include any weapon designed to shoot a projectile and, more controversially, the frame or receiver of such weapon. But here's the thing. Technology has evolved, and companies like Polymer 80 and the like started selling parts kits that you could assemble at home. No serial numbers, no background checks, no licenses, just tools, some time, and some American spirit of independence. And the government, well, they freaked out. In 2022, the Biden ATF wrote the rule to treat these kits and unfinished lowers as actual firearms. And the government was sued under the Administrative Procedures Act, saying the ATF had no authority to do this. And the District Court agreed. The Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals agreed. And they said that the law was crystal clear that parts kits were not firearms. Frames and receivers mean finished ones. But the Supreme Court? Yeah, about that. It just took a turn for the worse. Justice Neil Gorsuch wrote the majority decision, and he reversed the lower courts. The High Court, the Supreme Court, said this. Actually, yes, the ATF can regulate some parts kits and unfinished receivers, as long as they can be readily converted into firearms. The court pointed out that Polymer 80 kits and the like can be assembled into working pistols in about 20 minutes using tools that you have in your garage. And so the court ruled the ATF's interpretation isn't facially inconsistent with the law. In other words, it's not illegal on its face, even if it could be abused down the road. So what does this mean for you? If you're building from an 80% lower, the ATF might now say you're building a firearm. If you're building a complete kit, you might now be required to go through a background check, just like you were buying a Glock off the shelf. But, and this is critical, the court didn't give the ATF a blank check. They admitted there are limits. Not all parts kits are firearms. Not every unfinished receiver is covered. This is a legal battlefield now, folks. It's going to be case by case, kit by kit, lawsuit by lawsuit. And here's the spicy part. Justices Clarence Thomas and Samuel Alito dissented hard. Thomas said the court is rewriting the law to give bureaucrats power Congress never gave them. He warned that if parts can be regulated as firearms, we're headed down a dangerous road where freedom gets chipped away one regulation at a time. And he's not wrong. The ATF's track record is filled with flip-flops and rule changes. Do we really want unelected officials deciding what counts as a gun? Sound off in the comments. Do you agree with the court's decision? Should the ATF have this kind of power? I personally think that they should be abolished at all costs. If you care about freedom, now's the time to stay informed and to stay active. Subscribe to Guns and Gadgets, share this video with your Second Amendment buddies, and let us know in the comments how far should the ATF be allowed to go. Terrible ruling, 7-2 in favor of the ATF. The only justices that had their brains inside their melons were Samuel Alito and Clarence Thomas. And like I said, this went exactly how we felt it was going to go. If you were here when I covered the live stream of the oral arguments in the Supreme Court, it kind of went the way I said it would at that point. It wasn't good, but now we know. Take care.